A lot of people have the stereotypical thought about ADHD being a condition that only happens to little white boys. And they are just hyper, and that's all ADHD is. But then you go in there a little bit deeper and say, okay, yeah, ADHD does happen to adults, men and women. My love for space came from when my grandparents took me to Space Center Houston when I was a kid. I was like, okay, yay, more fun stuff to do during the summer. I go to space camp, and after a week, I tell my grandparents, like, I want to work at NASA. This is some cool stuff. And I would go every summer until I aged out. And it really stuck with me because at that time we were learning about the two rovers, Spirit and Opportunity. And I was just really jazzed about us being able to have the ability to leave this rock and go send something else to another rock and learn more about space.
You know, it affects people across age spectrum. So children, adolescents, youth, young adults. One thing that we do see, however, is that it doesn't actually come to attention until, it can be a functional issue, and that's when school starts. One thing to really be clear about is that ADHD, right, usually you're not going to see it develop in adulthood if the person didn't have any symptoms earlier.
My journey actually kind of possibly started when I went into college as an undergrad. Because prior to that, I was living with my grandparents, and something that I now realize that happened every time was at the beginning of the school year, I always start off strong because I'm excited about learning a new thing. And then as the semester progressed, I just teeter off. After the fall semester of my second year, I wasn't performing like a PhD student. I was actually encouraged to go get tested. And after the testing, they came back with the results sometime later and told me that it was, they said, moderate, severe, inattentive ADHD. And that prompted me to go start medical leave.
For children who present with mostly inattentiveness rather than the more hyperactivity or impulse control where they would be disruptive to a classroom. An inattentive child, right, that those are mostly their symptoms, they're just quietly not doing their work. Gaps that we see when it comes to gender and race are really from a healthcare perspective in that diagnosis and treatment. And that those are inequities that I believe that we have created in our own healthcare system, where we're not properly providing a timely diagnosis and treatment plan by a person's gender or race and ethnicity or their ability to access services. Black women live right at this intersection of gender and race. And so I think the easiest way to come through this is thinking about the inequities for ADHD diagnosis and treatment in both race and ethnicity, and then also for gender. Black women from even childhood in the schools can be missed as those disruptive behaviors are not attributed to something that needs to actually have medical attention, but something that needs to have disciplinary attention.
So after I got my diagnosis, I was trying to find as much as I can about being an adult with ADHD. At the time, the group was called Black Women with ADHD. And I joined the group. I do remember seeing that they have weekly Monday meetings. And I was like, okay, I might go to one. I go into the meeting and Renee is there.
Finally see y'all. Same here. I'm so glad you invited us. Look at that. You got a hard time.
When you're living with ADHD, and then you're also Black, it can feel like two separate experiences that you're having simultaneously. So when I was out there looking to find out, like, where are other Black people who are living with ADHD, so I can figure out how to reconcile some of my cultural experiences with having ADHD, and there was nothing. So I created the blog Black Girl Lost Keys to kind of put it out in the atmosphere, because I figured if I was looking for it, that there were other people looking for it too.
The meeting just started. I was trying to keep it all together, you know, and then I couldn't. I just broke down and started crying. It felt like I had known them my whole life, because they actually understood what I was going through, and at the same time though, like, their personalities were just, it matched mine, and it made me feel really good to be around other people that understood.
When you get an ADHD diagnosis, it's confusing because the disorder isn't well understood. And then when you bring that into the context of being someone Black, there's all these community and cultural issues that a lot of people don't understand. And ADHD affects every area of your life.
Very good. There
Please do not be afraid to get tested. If I had this diagnosis sooner, like even in college, that would have helped me out so much. And I didn't know where to go from here, because I honestly thought that I was doomed. I couldn't get a PhD. It's important to be around other Black women with ADHD so we can support each other.